It's nice having that accountability and having someone to talk to. When it's you by yourself and you're trying to search things up online, you may not necessarily have the same resources someone else does.
Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm joined by a client and friend by the name of Andrew as well. And he's been in the program for about 10 months now. Yeah, we're approaching that 1 year milestone, which is freaking awesome. Been absolutely crushing it. You came to me with a fat loss goal, right? And we absolutely
Yeah.
blew past it. I think that you came to me probably, I think it was about like 20 to 30 pounds that you wanted to lose. And we ended
Yeah.
up losing 40 pounds in 10
Yeah.
months. And now you're already in the position where we're gaining. We're in that lean gaining phase. And it's pretty crazy to see how far you've come. Thanks for taking the time, man, to hop on and share a little bit about your journey with us, your experience over the past year or so. Tell me from the beginning, like, where were you before you joined the program?
So, I mean, I was working out at that point somewhat consistently. I mean, like, it might have still been including something like 4 or 5, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So I was doing it, but it wasn't necessarily in like a targeted way, or like I would have routines I would do, change it up every few months, but then I wasn't really focusing on the diet side as much, wasn't really tracking. Just there wasn't always someone to hold me accountable. I would find someone to work out with who wouldn't always have the same workout philosophy, like, oh yeah, let's do a 3 hour workout. And it would be like, and every time he would be doing something different. And I'm like, I need consistency. And then found someone else to work out with, but it was more so me creating the workout plan. And I just, pretty somewhat consistently on and off for about 4 years before working out. I wasn't really seeing progress because I also don't think I was necessarily tracking it that well or, not necessarily knowing the best way to go about it. So I wasn't really seeing much results. If I was, I couldn't see them, trying to figure out where to go from there.
Training with a friend on a surface level, it sounds like a good time, right? They could hold you accountable, or
Mhm.
at least you have like some sort of gym buddy, but it only gets you so far, right? At some point, you feel like, hey, if I want to accelerate my progress and get to that next level, I can't be training with someone that doesn't have the same goals as me or that doesn't know how to
Mhm.
help me get to that goal, right?
Yeah.
And you were training for 4 years prior, you said, and you,
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily not consistent always, depending on what was going on, either because I didn't necessarily know when to push myself. For a bit, I was tracking myself on Microsoft OneNote, I think. I would like accidentally delete all my leg days for like the past 3 months and then try to remember where I was. And I think eventually I went to a workout plan, but then I don't think I was necessarily following the diet aspect as closely as I could have, but also didn't really have a way to track it. There were too many other things going on, so I wasn't necessarily doing that much. It was
yeah,
more so of me eyeballing and my eyeballing being way off.
trying to do what you know, right? Taking
Hmm.
tidbits and information from, I don't know, different resources and really trying to
Yeah,
apply it on your own. Sometimes it worked, but eventually it all came kind of to a halt, right? You kind of hit a
yeah.
plateau altogether. So it sounds like struggling was building the consistency, having the right accountability, and really just having the right systems in place to track your food, know what to eat, know how much to
Hmm.
eat, and knowing your
Yeah,
numbers in the gym too, right?
yeah. I mean, I did a pretty good job at least tracking what I was doing in the gym, but then using that information, that data was where I wasn't necessarily, where I was lacking.
So going at it by yourself was pretty tough, pretty challenging, and I
Yeah.
guess not as efficient as what we've been doing.
Hmm.
Before you started, was your main goal just like lose body fat, lose weight?
Yeah, it was like body fat, muscle growth, but then I didn't necessarily have like a target number or anything. I wasn't necessarily had an idea, so it wasn't, I had like a vague goal, but necessarily not like nothing so defined that I could be like, I could see steps in progress towards. Just lose weight, how much weight? Grow muscle, well, what do I want? This goal, what do I want my new max rep to be or something? I didn't have any of those set goals, a much more vague way of going about it where I knew roughly the direction I wanted to go, but not necessarily how far or where to exactly.
Kind of had an idea of what you wanted to look like, but you weren't really sure what that meant. Does that mean losing 20 pounds? Does that mean losing 40? Does it mean adding muscle? Like,
Mhm.
not really clear. Cool. So having those clear goals and those clear guidelines, did it help keep you more motivated and just kind of understanding of what to do?
We can, be able to see, like, track it, see, look at the graphs. Okay, where it went start plateauing on weight loss, or when I would sometimes tick up, and then I could self-motivate, get annoyed at myself being like, look at these like past 2 or 3 weeks where I kind of stay the same. If I just asked like a week or two earlier, I'm like, I could have done this earlier. I could have seen, this, and then, looking at that and then being able to see when I slowed down, where then I would be able to forward. So I could see, there'd be maybe a 3 week stretch where I didn't really lose weight or I went up, and then kind of realizing, okay, no, now if that happens instead of maybe 3 weeks in a row, if I see that for 2 weeks, then maybe I need to ask and figure out if I need to make a change, because I kind of then
Right.
saw over the time roughly the pace of it that I was losing weight.
Yeah, and just really having regular conversation just to know exactly what you're doing is working, to be reminded of where you're headed. So I know you hop on the group coaching calls whenever you can, really just getting clear on your goals and understanding the
Mm-hmm.
why in terms of what we're doing, I think has been super helpful for you. So I know a lot of the times when I struggled in the beginning was because I was just simply doing workouts and tracking my food. I thought that's what I needed to do, but I didn't know why, right? When we can
Yeah.
attach the why to your goal and we have that understanding of, okay, this is the next step. This is why we're doing it. So this is how we're going to get there. It makes everything fall into place much faster. Yeah. Awesome. So what are like the biggest takeaways, would you say, that you've gotten over the past year or so, 10 months?
The tracking of your macros of what you eat, and then being more conscientious of that and seeing like, okay, realizing what I can do to be full, but also then to continue losing weight, increasing food volume, but then decreasing the macros of it, those, and figuring those things out. And then being able to ask someone when a workout doesn't feel right, or exercise should this really be a thing? Should I be feeling this? Should this hurt? Should it be this easy? Having someone to ask and then get a response back, where you search online and you have 30 different people saying 30 different things, getting that feedback, what my macro should be. I could never figure out, okay, I do that, but then, okay, how do I decide what I go to next? And then figuring that out. I mean, once I knew what the macros were, I mean, I didn't have that much of a trouble staying,
Nice.
but it was like getting to figuring out what were they, then trying to figure that. Without that, I just kind of floundered around.
The trial and error can be costly, right? Because you mentioned before
Yeah.
you were tracking your weights, tracking your food, and doing what you can. But for 4 years, you weren't able to kind of see the consistent and meaningful progress that you wanted. So, really, just knowing that this is exactly what I need to do. It's not like an experiment of, okay, I'm going to test this amount of macros, see what happens, then adjust them. It's more so like, this is what's going to get you to your goals because I have the professional guidance to get me there. And if
Uh-huh.
anything happens, or if I'm confused or I don't know, simply just asking the right questions is so helpful. What would you say, like, in terms of the macros, like, how do you feel? Because you lost a good amount of weight. Like, how were you feeling throughout that calorie deficit?
Definitely like change from being, full and hungry. It really depended on like when I ate and what I ate.
Hmm.
If I didn't eat something that had a lot more volume and less calories, at times I would find myself getting hungrier. If I didn't have, especially when I found some of the leaner proteins where you can get a lot more volume for a lot less calories,
Yeah.
if I cooked that right, I could feel more full, and just it very varied, and especially if depending on what I was doing, timing. Like if I didn't time my meals right with the amount of distance in between, then I might find myself feeling hungry, trying then potentially eating more than I needed to. It's very much figuring out that timing. At the beginning, usually whenever we had the first decrease, whenever there was a decrease, I would usually find myself hungry for a bit till I got used to it. So it just kind of figuring out just like the timing is what I found was the most key.
Okay. Meal timing.
Because
It's really an art. It's
yeah.
like I see a lot of the times where there's posts online where people say to eat less and move more and you're going to lose weight and see progress. And there's some truth behind it. And of course, according to the laws of thermodynamics, that's how you lose weight,
Hmm.
right? But the thing is like when you have such surface level information, it actually can be counterproductive. Because as you notice, like we're trying to help you eat more food so that you can eat in a calorie deficit without starving. So if you just knew, hey, like eat less, you're going to try to just eat less and wonder why it's so hard to eat in a calorie
Yeah.
deficit. So that's like those pieces of information when it comes to meal timing, volume eating, meal frequency. All of these things are super important when it comes to being able to adhere to a deficit. The same goes for like training, right? The eat less, move more. When it comes to training for you guys, what we try to program here is want to get the most bang for your buck every workout. I'm not trying to get you to train as long and as hard as you can every single day. I want to make sure that you can get the most out of each session. And have you noticed, like with your workouts, that sometimes maybe in general that you're maybe doing less than you were prior to the program or training less?
I think I was
Same.
still trying to keep it to roughly an hour. I mean, I wasn't always doing the superset, so like it would be a little more spread out. I always try to keep it between 5 and 8 exercises per workout. I know about the diminishing returns and your sweet spot of 10 to 15 reps per week before you reach your diminishing returns of exercises for muscle groups. There was a range somewhere I had read, and I just can't remember what it was, but
That's exceeding, like that's too much, you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a range somewhere, like keep it within this range, or if you go above it, then you're going to start seeing diminishing return. So I knew roughly how much I was aiming for, but then it was in figuring, okay, what muscle group is this exercise talk work, targeting? Okay, I had these 3 workouts this week or exercises for biceps. Okay, then these 4 for, and how many sets am I doing? So figuring that out, and then sometimes when I work out with other people, I would try to. I'm like, no, you don't need these 3-hour workouts.
Yeah.
You're doing your leg for 40 sets in one day. I would be like, no, I can't do that. I can't spend 3.5 hours every night doing this.
And what happens afterwards? You can't even walk properly, and you're working at school, right? So you're like
Yeah,
just limping around all day. It's not ideal.
usually wasn't. I mean, he would be limping, but I think I never pushed himself as hard as he did because I was like,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah, it's funny. The way I used to train back in the day, let's say 7 or 8 years ago, I would do just that, right? I would try to do as many sets as I possibly could every single week, work out every single day as long as I possibly could. And then you start to realize that the risk of injury skyrockets, right? You're not recovering, you're getting sore and getting injured more frequently. You're actually not seeing as much progress because yeah, quite frankly, like unless you're a bodybuilder and you're able to just make eating your job and recovering your job, you can't recover in time. You need to eat so much food, you need to sleep so much, and it's just not realistic for like busy professionals that we work with. So going down to, let's say, a 3 times per week strength training program has helped me like have so much more energy throughout the day and just control my cravings too. So I don't know if you've ever noticed when you work out a lot, sometimes the cravings and the appetite skyrockets. And in terms of like energy, have you noticed that you're feeling pretty solid even though you were eating in a deficit and
Yeah, felt roughly about the same. So I didn't notice, even during summer camp versus teaching, I didn't really notice that much of a difference. Yeah, so I didn't necessarily feel any more tired than normal
yeah.
compared to, before. Just all depended on what was going on at work at that time. More
Right.
so affected it more so than what the workouts were.
So tell me then, what are the biggest changes that you have noticed after losing 40 pounds and gaining muscle at the same time?
Keep having to get new pants. Like, I have a lot of shirts that I was worried about outgrowing, no longer being able to fit in that now I can wear again a lot more comfortably. The constant changing of pants and shorts now is, oh, this fit from when I started the program. I think none of those pants fit still. But then, like, in the last school year, I bought some pants. Those don't fit anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now I'm like, okay, I don't think I'll be going down in waste that much, but then it's still trying to figure out, it's like kind of playing the guessing game. How tight can this be now? How much will I lose? So yeah, I mean, that's where I've noticed the biggest is in clothing. I've had a few people remark about changes in physique, but just not as many. It was definitely the watching the wardrobe change, and especially in the waist, where I was constant changing of pants getting a little exhausting.
Now we're working towards filling out those t-shirts by growing those biceps.
Yeah,
I love it.
'cause some of those shirts were tight before for the biceps, but not necessarily for the right reasons.
Yeah, things are changing. So, Andrew, what was the turning point for you? I know you were training for 4 years. You had some friends that you trained with, some gym buddies. You were tracking your macros. What was that turning point that you're like, hey, like, I need to get some help. I need to reach out and find a
I
solution.
mean, I had a health scare. Got strep throat, had it before, but whatever strain that was going around the area was different. That triggered note heart condition that shouldn't have even been triggered. Hospitalized me for a few days, and so it was kind of on my radar to figure out something for working out. And I think that's what pushed me to connect with some other people, but then it wasn't necessarily going. And then I think you reach out to me on Instagram and I scheduled some things. It was like maybe like a 6 or 7 month period. It was kind of on the back of my mind, but until you had reached out to me on Instagram, I think I was at that point considering looking into someone, but I hadn't done much thought into it. So it was something I was thinking about. But once that happened, I thought about it a little bit more. 6 or 7 months after that is when I started thinking about it more and then thinking about actually looking into finding someone. By myself, I wasn't necessarily making any changes.
Mhm. You had the health scare and you're like, hey, you know what? Like maybe this is a sign that I need to make a change, do something
Yeah.
different. Sometimes we need that real like reality check to really get us into check to do the things that we might not want to do, things that are a little bit more uncomfortable. I'm glad that everything turned out that this was something that helped you get from a
Yeah.
hard place to a better place. At that time, were you considering in-person training, getting like an in-person trainer?
I thought about it. I don't, the gym I went to had the personal trainers, but I don't think they'd offered services in regards to dieting though. I don't think they did anything in regards to helping you figure out your macros. 'Cause I remember looking online and I don't remember them having anything in regards to that. Because I was also looking things for macros and food. To my knowledge, they didn't have anything for that. So for them, it wasn't necessarily on my radar, at least at my old gym, because they didn't necessarily have that. I necessarily didn't want to be looking into going to another gym if learn a whole new gym and for personal training and not having necessarily anything. I didn't want to be changing too many things at once.
Yeah, and you touched on a really good point too, is like you wouldn't get the nutrition coaching that you needed. That's a huge component that a lot of people, when they come to us, they want that help when it comes to nutrition. And getting a 60-minute session with an in-person trainer doesn't give you that level of nutrition coaching. And most importantly, the accountability outside of the gym. I'm sure that you can mention like having the check-ins, having the communication, just being able to oversee your program has been valuable or no?
Yeah, it has. When I have questions or things aren't going right, that's when I discovered earlier in the week and realized you can comment on specific meals. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
why is the notification bell lit up? I'm like, oh, you can comment on that. I didn't know that.
Now you know when I'm monitoring, hey?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always forget to enter everything till the end of the day if I don't prep it the day before, and then but I'm pretty consistent in what I eat, my general breakfast thing. So it's not like when I throw in those odd things and then I'm like, okay, what exactly did I eat? What did this person bring in? So it always didn't necessarily happen. So it doesn't, for that, I don't big of a deal because, oh, I already know in half the things I already have macros written down somewhere on the app that I can
Yeah.
search through and find. And it's
Yeah.
just putting them in and whether or not I actually remember to change the times because I started to look, so I have all three meals of the day entered at 7:42 at night. And I usually
Happens.
then half the time, but half the time I don't, and then I don't, and then I forget to change the time half the time. So I'm like, I just need to get this done.
Cool. Well, I'm curious, like, what do you love the most about the program? Like, what did you find the most beneficial, the most valuable? What are your things, your favorite things?
Definitely, the group calls where people have questions, and hearing what other people are asking, or at times where I'd be like, oh, I struggled with that. Oh, I figured that out already. Or, some of the
Yeah.
things I was struggling with, whether it was before or during the program, just be able to hear other people, and seeing what because sometimes they have questions that I didn't even consider,
Yeah.
but were things I was kind of thinking about or didn't even know I was thinking about. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me try that. Or, oh, that makes sense. Or you're trying what?
The community is so impactful. I feel like it's one of those things that is the most overlooked, especially when someone joins the program. And even for myself, right? I have coaches too. And I'm like, community that calls, I probably won't benefit from it. And then you realize, like, yep, learning from others and learning from your peers and just knowing that other people are in a very similar situation as you is so helpful and so valuable. Are you coming to today's call? There is one today, a bonus one.
I didn't see a notification go through.
Oh, I'll have to do that right away. But before we
Yeah.
sign off, I got to ask you, you lost the 40 pounds in around 10 months. You love the accountability, the community, the goal, the group coaching calls. So with that being said, like, would you recommend this program to anyone listening?
Yeah, I would because it's nice having that accountability and having someone to talk to and reaching out to other people when you have those questions or whether it's the coaches or other community members. When it's you by yourself and you're trying to search things up online, you may not necessarily have the same resources someone else does, or they may have already figured it out. if someone else already figured it out and willing to share, why waste the time on your own trying to figure it out if you can just ask someone? And the app being able to track workouts and macros is nice, even though I get frustrated with the app's minute changes where things don't get updated
Ah,
for macros. And I'm like, okay, it says this box, this a serving of this is this, but I'm looking at the box right now and
it
it says
doesn't say
something
that.
slightly different. And I'm like, okay,
The
so this
struggle.
change at some point, but just having it all in one place is good because I don't like doing 37 different apps because kind of funny. I'll interesting things in the app that goes with my scale and stuff and the tape measure, but then I always transfer it over to the level up and I'll
Yeah.
be like a week later, oh, I never put that in. I have it on
Ah,
my end because I'll do it and then I forget to open the other app. But it's nice to like being in one place and seeing everything where I can look
yep.
at look at the workouts, look at the nutrition, look at the weight, everything all in one, and how it then connects to my watch, and I can see some of those things. So it's definitely nice, and then just being able to there's a community aspect, asking people on those calls and
Mhm.
if on the Facebook group, when I open it, just the community aspect is very helpful and being able to see what other people are going through when they're going through similar challenges to you or other
Mhm.
things and ask them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that because our goal is to really make this as easy as possible, right? Of course, it's going to require effort, hard work, and communication, like asking for help.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the technology and the systems component, we're always trying to improve and really make it as easy as possible so that all you have to do is really just follow the plan, right? Nothing's confusing. There's no question marks or anything like that. So we're always trying to improve those components. And I'm glad you see the value in having it kind of all in one place. Well, man, that kind of wraps it up for me. I appreciate your
Okay,
time and you've been absolutely slaying it, and I'm super proud of you.
thanks.